I went to the top university in Canada. I landed my dream job at a Fortune 500 company. I got promoted. I bought the house. I worked hard. I made the responsible choices. But on the inside, something still felt off. This is a vulnerable one. So stick around because I'm going to share my personal story of why I could no longer wait for later and why I had to act now to take control and get back in the driver's seat of my life. No one tells you this, but you can do everything you're supposed to do and still feel like you're living the wrong life. And what makes this hard to talk about is that it feels like you're not allowed to question this because you did what you were supposed to do. You worked hard, you made responsible choices. So when something feels off, you assume that you are the problem. I know that feeling really well because for the longest time, that was my life. I kept telling myself that if I just keep going, if I land that job, if I get that promotion, if I buy that house, this feeling would pass. But it didn't. And from the outside, everything was great. It looked like I was living the dream. So I kept going. I kept working hard. I continued to follow the plan. And I kept ignoring that inner voice that was telling me that there is more to life than this. And then something happened that completely turned my life upside down. I lost a loved one at age 25, and what I learned that waiting for later isn't guaranteed. Later, when you slow down. Later, when you feel fulfilled. Later, when you finally enjoy the life you've built. And there was one question that kept nagging away. Is this really it for me? Was this the right path? Was I in the right job? Was I even happy? I had this sense of urgency that there was more to life than this. I didn't want to be sitting in front of a desk every day from 9 to 5, working for somebody else. There was so much more to life, and I needed to go figure out what that was. And I remembered reading a book, Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and it planted a seed in me a few years earlier. I was going to walk across the USA from Mexico to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail without any backpacking experience. And here's the thing, I was absolutely terrified. I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified of sleeping alone in my tent at night. I didn't know how to use a stove. I barely knew how to navigate using a map. I was a complete beginner going into this with zero experience, zero knowledge. I had no idea if I was going to succeed in this adventure. I didn't even know if I was going to enjoy it after the first day. And by the way, everyone thought I was absolutely crazy. My family, my friends, they couldn't understand why on earth I would hike across a country with zero backpacking experience. And I didn't have to explain it. Because finally I was tapping into that feeling, finally I was listening to the signs, and I knew this was the best decision I have made in a long time. There was so much uncertainty, there was so much fear, but that didn't stop me. And after successfully hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, the biggest thing that I discovered is that confidence doesn't come from waiting. Confidence is something you build by doing, especially when you don't feel ready. And every step on that trail taught me that I was far more capable than I could ever imagine. I was courageous enough to do something different and to listen to what felt right for me. If you're watching this and you feel stuck, or you've done everything right, and there's still the sense that something is missing, you are not alone. And I want you to know, this feeling isn't something to be ignored. This feeling is telling you to start paying attention. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know what you're doing. You just have to stop ignoring that feeling that something doesn't feel right. Because if I hadn't listened to that feeling, I wouldn't have hiked across the USA with zero backpacking experience. I wouldn't have met the love of my life that I'm now married to. I wouldn't be traveling full time, working wherever and whenever I please, and I wouldn't be filming this video from a little quaint town in Ecuador. Because I finally stopped ignoring that feeling and I trusted myself enough to take that first step. Because remember, you can do everything right, and it can still feel wrong. Sometimes that feeling, that sign, means that you are on to something amazing. All it takes is just one small step.